Hold up, because if you haven't seen what just dropped in the NFL world, then you need to sit down for this one. Because the Dallas Cowboys just pulled off a move that has the entire league talking. And I mean, everyone from analysts to players to fans on both sides of this rivalry are absolutely stunned right now. And before we get into everything you need to know, make sure you subscribe to Blue and Silver Nation, because when Cowboys news breaks, we are on it immediately. And you do not want to miss what's coming next, because this story is only getting started. So here's what happened. And trust me when I tell you, this is not your typical roster adjustment. This is not some practice squad, shuffling, or a late round depth signing. No, this is the Dallas Cowboys going out and acquiring Sidney Brown. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it should, because this man was just wearing midnight green playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now he's about to suit up in the star. And that alone should tell you everything you need to know about how serious Jerry Jones and this front office are about winning right now. The reports started circulating, and at first, honestly, a lot of people thought it was fake, because why would the Eagles trade a talented young safety to their most hated rival? But then confirmation started rolling in from multiple league sources, and the reality set in: this is actually happening. Sidney Brown is now a Dallas Cowboy, and the NFC East just got a whole lot more interesting. Now let me break down why this matters so much, because if you don't know Sidney Brown's game, then you're missing half of why this trade is so significant. This is not just some average defensive back who's going to come in and fill a roster spot. This is a playmaker. This is a guy who, from the moment he stepped onto an NFL field, showed that he has that rare combination of instincts, physicality, and football intelligence that you simply cannot teach. He reads quarterbacks like he's got the play sheet in front of him, he attacks the ball with violence, and he plays every single snap like it's the most important play of his life. And that kind of energy, that kind of mentality, is exactly what Dallas has been searching for on the back end of their defense. Think about how many times over the past few seasons we've watched the Cowboys get pressure on the quarterback, only to see the coverage break down at the worst possible moment. And that incompletion we needed turns into a first down, or worse, a touchdown, because somebody wasn't where they were supposed to be, or somebody didn't make the play when the ball came their way. That's been the frustration right there. And Sidney Brown is the kind of player who erases those moments, because he's always in position. And when the ball comes near him, more often than not, something good happens for the defense. But here's what nobody is talking about yet, and this is the part that should have Eagles fans genuinely worried. Because Sidney Brown knows that team inside and out. He knows the terminology, he knows the tendencies, he knows what Jalen Hurts likes to do on third and medium. He knows where the soft spots in their coverages are, because he used to be the one covering them up. And now all of that information, all of that insider knowledge is walking straight into the Cowboys facility, and you better believe the coaching staff is going to pick his brain for every single detail. When Dallas faces Philadelphia later this season, and you know those games always have playoff implications, Sidney Brown is going to be out there with a chip on his shoulder, ready to prove that trading him was the worst decision the Eagles ever made. And honestly, can you imagine the scenes if he comes up with a game-changing interception against his former team? Because that would be the kind of moment Cowboys fans talk about for decades. Now, from a scheme perspective, this trade makes so much sense for what Dan Quinn and the defensive staff want to do, because they love versatility, they love players who can do multiple things, and Sidney Brown checks every single box. You can play him deep as a traditional free safety, reading the quarterback's eyes, and jumping routes. You can bring him down into the box as an extra defender against the run. You can send him on delayed blitzes, where his timing and explosion create instant pressure, or you can use him as a spy against mobile quarterbacks, which is going to be huge when Dallas faces some of these athletic signal callers in the NFC. Offensive coordinators are going to have headaches trying to figure out where Brown is going to line up on any given snap, because he could be anywhere, and that uncertainty creates hesitation, and hesitation in the NFL gets you beat. The ripple effects through the rest of the defense are going to be immediate too, because when you add a safety who can cover that much ground and make that many plays, it changes how everyone else plays. The corners can be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage because they know they've got help over the top if they get beat. The linebackers can fly to the ball faster because they trust that someone is going to clean up anything that gets past them. The defensive line can pin their ears back and hunt quarterbacks because they know the coverage is going to hold up long enough to get home. One player at safety might not seem like a franchise-altering move on paper, but when that player is as impactful as Sidney Brown, the multiplication effect through the entire unit is real and it's significant. And let me talk about the message this sends to the locker room because that matters more than people realize. Players watch what management does, and when they see the front office go out and make an aggressive trade for a talented player, it tells them that this organization believes in winning now. It tells them that the window is open and the Cowboys are going all in. That kind of energy spreads through a locker room like wildfire. Guys start practicing harder because they feel like they're part of something special. Veterans start mentoring younger players with more urgency because they sense that this could be the year. The entire culture shifts from hoping to expecting, and that mental transformation is sometimes the difference between a team that makes noise in January and a team that goes home early. Now we have to talk about what this means for the Eagles because losing Sidney Brown is not something they can just brush off like it's no big deal. According to various reports, the Eagles may be thinking long-term. They may believe they have younger players ready to step into expanded roles, and they may be prioritizing future draft capital or salary cap flexibility. But the bottom line is, they just gave a talented, proven player to their biggest rival, and that's a tough pill to swallow, no matter how you try to spin it. Eagles fans are understandably frustrated because they've watched Brown make plays, they've seen his potential, and now they're going to have to watch him do it in a Cowboys uniform twice a year minimum, and potentially more, if these teams meet in the playoffs. The pressure is now on Philadelphia's young defensive backs to prove they can fill that void, and if they can't, well then this trade is going to look even worse as the season goes on. From Dallas's perspective, the logic was crystal clear. They identified a weakness in their secondary, they found a player who could fix it, and they made it happen. No overthinking, no waiting to see if something better comes along, just decisive action. And that's what championship organizations do. The Cowboys have been hovering around contender status for years now, putting together strong regular seasons and then falling short when the stakes get highest, and at some point you have to stop talking about being close and start making the moves that push you over the top. This trade feels like Dallas saying enough is enough. We're tired of moral victories and competitive losses. We want championships, and we're going to do what it takes to get them. Sidney Brown also brings something that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, and that's leadership. For a young player, he carries himself with the confidence and communication skills of a 10-year veteran. He's constantly talking before the snap, pointing out formations, identifying receivers, getting everyone aligned, and that kind of vocal presence on the back end is invaluable, especially late in games when the pressure is highest and mental mistakes tend to creep in. Dallas needed someone who could quarterback the secondary and keep everyone on the same page, and they just got exactly that. The crazy part is this trade might not even be the last move Dallas makes, because when a team shows this level of aggression, it usually signals a willingness to keep pushing if the right opportunity presents itself. The Cowboys might be looking at other positions where they can upgrade, and if another impact player becomes available, don't be surprised to see Jerry Jones pick up the phone again. This front office is clearly in win-now mode, and once you commit to that mentality, you don't stop at one move. You keep building until you have the roster you need to compete for championships. For Sidney Brown personally, this trade is a massive opportunity. He's going from a situation in Philadelphia where for whatever reason the organization decided to move on to a situation in Dallas where he's going to be featured, showcased, and given every chance to prove he's one of the best safeties in football. And let's be real about something: playing for the Dallas Cowboys is different than playing for any other franchise because every game is a national event, every play is dissected by millions of fans, and every big moment lives forever in the collective memory of one of the largest fan bases in professional sports. If Sidney Brown makes a game-saving interception on Sunday Night Football or delivers a massive hit that changes the momentum of a playoff game, his profile is going to explode, and he's going to go from a respected player to a household name overnight. The spotlight in Dallas can be a burden for some players, but for guys who thrive on pressure and attention, it's rocket fuel. And everything we've seen from Brown suggests he's the type who runs toward the fire, not away from it. Now the real question becomes, how quickly can he integrate into this defense? Because chemistry in the secondary takes time to develop. Communication, trust, timing, all of those things require reps together, and Brown is joining a system where he has to learn new terminology, new responsibilities, and new teammates. But here's the thing about safety play: if you have the football IQ and the instincts, you can speed up that integration process significantly, and Brown has both of those things in abundance. He might not be perfect in his first game, but his presence alone changes how opponents have to attack the Cowboys. Tight ends aren't going to have the same freedom over the middle anymore. Slot receivers are going to have to work harder to create separation. Quarterbacks who like to take chances in traffic are going to think twice because they know Brown has a habit of turning those mistakes into turnovers, and turnovers are where games swing. One interception at the right moment, one forced fumble when your offense needs a spark, can completely flip the script. And Dallas just added a player who has a track record of making exactly those kinds of plays. As we move deeper into the season with playoff positioning on the line, every game is going to carry more weight. And having Sidney Brown on the field for those high-pressure moments is going to be a luxury the Cowboys didn't have before. The NFC is absolutely stacked this year, with multiple teams capable of making deep playoff runs, and the margin between winning and losing is razor thin. A trade like this could be the difference between winning a tight divisional game and losing it. It could be the difference between securing home field advantage and having to go on the road. It could be the difference between celebrating in February and watching someone else hoist the trophy. That's how significant adding a player of this caliber can be, and Cowboys fans should be genuinely excited about what this means for their team's chances. And honestly, the fan reaction has been exactly what you'd expect, because Cowboys Nation is absolutely buzzing right now, calling this a steal, celebrating the front office for being aggressive, and already dreaming about playoff scenarios where Brown makes the play that sends Dallas to the next round. Eagles fans, on the other hand, are furious, confused, and deeply skeptical about why their team would help a division rival like this. Neutral fans are just enjoying the chaos because this is exactly the kind of drama that makes the NFL appointment television every single week. Trades like this remind everyone that the league is constantly evolving and no team is ever safe from having their plans disrupted by a rival making a bold move. The competitive balance of the NFC East specifically has shifted because of this deal. The Cowboys were already dangerous with their offensive firepower and defensive front, but now the secondary has gotten significantly better, and that makes Dallas a more complete team on the defensive side of the ball. Washington and the Giants are watching this unfold and wondering how they're supposed to keep up when their division rivals are making moves like this. The pressure on every other NFC contender to respond is real, because nobody wants to be the team that stood still while everyone else improved. This could trigger a chain reaction of trades and signings as teams scramble to maintain their positioning in what's shaping up to be an incredibly competitive conference race. At the end of the day, this trade is going to be judged by one thing and one thing only, and that's results. Wins, losses, playoff performance, championship aspirations — that's the measuring stick in the NFL, and nothing else really matters. But in this moment right now, it's impossible to look at what the Cowboys just did and not feel like something significant has changed. This wasn't a minor adjustment. This was a statement. And the statement is clear. Dallas is done waiting. Dallas is done being patient. Dallas is ready to take what they believe is theirs. And they just proved it by acquiring one of the most dynamic safeties in football from their most hated rival. Whether this ends in championship glory or playoff heartbreak, we're going to find out together. But one thing is absolutely certain, the Sidney Brown trade has changed the trajectory of this Cowboys season, and the entire NFL is paying attention. So let me know in the comments what you think about this move. Is this the trade that puts Dallas over the top? Or do you still think they need more pieces before they can legitimately compete for a Super Bowl? Drop your thoughts below, because I want to hear from Cowboys Nation. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this story is just getting started. And when the next update drops, you're going to want to be here for it, because things are moving fast and the Cowboys are clearly just getting warmed up.